Lexi from more.than.midodrine, and today I'm doing the EDS challenge. It was started by Ehlers Danlos syndrome for EDS Awareness Month, but I'm a little late, but we're gonna call it okay. So question number 1 is, what type of EDS do you have? And right now I'm diagnosed with cardiac valvular Ehlers Danlos syndrome, which is a distinct type from the vascular type. I get that question a lot. It's a new diagnosis as of 2017 after the EDS diagnosis guidelines were changed. And it's a mutation of the COL1A2 gene, and it's a connective tissue disorder that affects mostly the heart and the joints, but can also affect the immune system and the GI system and eyes, ears, hearing, everything. 2, when was I diagnosed? I was diagnosed in early 2017. Number 3, comorbidities. Comorbidities are other illnesses that are caused by EDS. Since EDS is caused by connective tissue, anything that is surrounded by connective tissue can also be affected. So my comorbidities is, number 1, something called postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome, or POTS, which causes tachycardia, means extremely high heart rate, and it also causes dizziness and passing out and things like that. And then my second comorbidity is mast cell activation disorder, which is when the body releases too much histamines and causes inappropriate allergic reactions. Number 3, I have cranial cervical instability, which means that EDS has weakened my cervical spine to where it can move in and out. I think that's all. Oh, I also have rheumatoid arthritis, which is not 100% known of the relationship to EDS, but there are 15 autoimmune diseases that occur in higher populations of EDS patients than in the general population, and RA is one of those. Number 4, how hypermobile are you? My hypermobility is kind of different. As a child, I was extremely stiff, actually. And since I have cardiac valvular, hypermobility isn't as extreme as it would be with the hypermobile type. So my hypermobility, I did at one point of diagnosis, I had an 8 out of 9 on the Beighton score, which is a score that is used to determine how hypermobile you are. And now I believe I'm a 7 out of 9. So I do have some hypermobility, but it's a bit different than the typical EDS hypermobility. And number 5, are you stretchy? I am moderately stretchy, I think. I'll show you what I can do. Cute, am I right? And then, this is really gross, so prepare yourself. I can pull my eye out super far, and this is a bit stretchy, but that's about the extent of my stretchiness. Number 5, do you use any mobility aids? And right now I currently do not most of the time. When I was first diagnosed, I had a lot of problems and used a wheelchair for a few weeks. And I do have a forearm crutch, but unfortunately it messes up my shoulder, so it kind of does more harm than good. So, do I use a mobility aid? Usually not. Number 7, what is my pain management like? And the answer to this is I pretty much don't have any. I take NSAIDs, and that's the extent of it. Number 8, have you had any surgeries? Currently, right now, I haven't had any surgeries because we're afraid of what complications could happen. But I do need a shoulder surgery pretty soon, and that would be my very first surgery. Number 9, have I had any hospital stays? Yes, I've had too many to count, unfortunately. That's a common thing in people with Ehlers Danlos. Number 10 is, what is your normal like? And my normal is very different than the normal 20-year-old's life. But I don't work. I'm in school part-time, but I do what I can, and I appreciate the things that I can do. Number 11, what is your flare like? I actually don't flare. I have a pretty static set of symptoms, so that's kind of a blessing, I guess. I know what I'm waking up to every day. Number 12 is what specialists do you see? I see, obviously, a primary care. I see an electrophysiologist, which is a cardiologist that specializes in heart rhythm disorders. I have 2 of those. And then I see an orthopedic surgeon. I see a physical therapist, an occupational therapist, a PM and R, an ophthalmologist, a rheumatologist. How did I forget that one? And a neurologist. I think that's all of the specialists who I see. But that tells you how big of a range EDS spans. It's not just in the joints, it's in every single organ of your body. Oh, I also see a GI. What is your funniest EDS story? And I'm gonna share one of my embarrassing moments from childhood, which honestly my entire childhood was embarrassing. But yeah, and I was probably in 5th grade when this happened, but we were in an all-school assembly, and we were all sitting on the ground, which is terrible for me because I have very poor circulation. So if I stand up after sitting on the ground, I'm pretty dizzy, and my limbs are usually asleep. And so I stood up from sitting on the ground, and I immediately fell to the ground because my leg wasn't awake in front of the whole entire school. And then teacher kind of got mad at me and was like, sit down, sit down. So that was one of my funniest EDS memories. Another one was when I was probably 12-ish. I was in a toy store with a kid who I used to babysit, and I started getting really dizzy and about to pass out, but I didn't know that at the time because I hadn't been diagnosed. So I kind of started to lose it. And there was this giant, 3-foot tall tiger, the big giant stuffed animals. And I was like, I'm gonna go sit down on the tiger. So I was very loopy, and I sat down on the tiger. It collapsed to the ground. I passed out, and I remember waking up, and I was in the window of the store, and people were walking by looking at me. So that's a story that I don't care to remember that often. Number 14, I think we're at. Worst doctor experience. My worst doctor experience was my childhood primary care doctor, who thought that I didn't have anything, who thought that I was just a whiny complainer girl, which unfortunately happens a lot with girls who are EDS patients. My best doctor experience is my primary care right now is really amazing, and my orthopedic surgeon is really amazing. My EP cardiologist is really amazing, and how could I forget my PT? Then what is your support system like? I thankfully have a really awesome support system of my family, of my mom and my brother, and then my PT is a big part of my support system, and then my friends are really awesome, and my online friends who I've met through my Instagram account provide me with a lot of support too. And then I also go to an in-person EDS support group every month, and they're awesome too. Do you think EDS is expensive? And yes, if it wasn't for insurance, I'd be screwed. The other day I got a bill for an MRI that I had, and I opened it, and without insurance, it was $3,000. Praise the Lord, I do have insurance and I only had to pay $20, but I was like, you stick me in a magnet for an hour and then charge me $3,000? Do you consider yourself disabled? This is the hardest question for me because, I mean, I don't live a normal life, so that would classify me as disabled, but I don't really enjoy that label. I usually call myself chronically ill, because I just don't like the connotation of disabled, of not being able to do something. Number 19 is, have you experienced ableism? And yes. The most glaring example of ableism that I can think of right now is I am a college student and I have ADA accommodations, which is a special plan that my school has set up to help me achieve success, and it equals the playing field for people who are chronically ill. And I've had several professors who weren't willing to work with my ADA accommodations, and I had to drop out of their class. And that's not very fun. Honestly, everybody should deserve equal access to school and success, and just be a good person to the people around you. That's all I really have to say. What's the worst part of having EDS? Not being able to do what I used to do is the worst part of having EDS for me. I used to go rock climbing and mountain biking, and I did acro yoga, and I was a boxer too, if you can imagine that. And unfortunately I can't do most of those things anymore. And that's the worst part of EDS for me. What is one thing that EDS has taken away from you? And the biggest thing that EDS has taken away from me is my independence. I used to live on my own. I went to school full time. I could do anything I wanted to, and now I had to move back home. I can't braid my own hair. I can't pick up something that I dropped off the floor. I can't write more than a few words or sign my signature, and that's the hardest part of EDS for me, is having to rely on somebody else to help me through the day. What has EDS given to me? EDS has given me a greater sense of compassion, honestly, and like an ability to reach out to people, which is something really powerful of that I've learned through my Instagram, of having people message me and saying, I'm in the same situation, what can I do? And that's something that I'm really thankful for, and I'm really thankful for the ability for me to help other people who are going through this, and also to realize that life is a gift, no matter if you're able to do everything or if you're able to do next to nothing. I mean, every human being is sacred and valuable, no matter what they do. And 23, what is something that you wish people understood? I wish people understood that just because I look normal doesn't mean I feel normal. That's probably the biggest thing that I struggle with, is the you don't look sick sort of things, because I look like this every day. I mean, even if I feel like trash, I try to get ready, and I try to put on real clothes, and I try to put on makeup, and because that makes me feel good about myself. But not everybody understands that just because I look okay or I look normal, that doesn't mean that I'm feeling normal, and that's something that I wish people would understand. 24, if you could get rid of one symptom, what would it be? I would get rid of pain, honestly. That's one of my worst symptoms, and it's something that teenagers shouldn't have to deal with. Number 25, who is one person who I'm thankful for? I'm really thankful for my mom, who is a huge supporter of me, even though she also has EDS. She's always there for me, and whenever I need her, she's there. And also my physical therapist and my physical therapist assistant are really awesome and are kind of the backbone of my care. 26, what's the scariest part of your future life with EDS? And for me, we're getting real deep here. For me, the hardest part is the fear that I'm going to be living in pain for the rest of my life. But I'm hoping that's not the case. 27, what are your health goals? My health goals are to get back to some of the things that I used to do. I want to be able to stay active again. I want to ride my bike. I want to keep doing yoga, but in a safe and healthy manner to where I can not overexert myself, but also stay active. 28, have you ever met anybody in person who has EDS? And yes, I've met a lot of people, thankfully, who have EDS through my EDS support group in town. And it's so amazing to have other people who you can talk to, who you see in real life, who are struggling with the same things. And that's something that honestly you wouldn't think about until you do have EDS. I have a rare disease and I don't know anybody else who has it, which is a really big struggle for a lot of people. And I hope that everybody else who has EDS can reach out to somebody in real life who knows what they're going through. 29, if there was a cure for EDS, would you take it? That's a really hard question. And honestly, I would say I would take a cure for the pain. Shout out if you know that Switchfoot song. I would take a cure for the pain, but I wouldn't take a cure for anything else, honestly. I live a unique life and I don't want to give that up. My lifespan may be short, my quality of life might be different, but it's given me a new perspective on life that I wouldn't have otherwise. And that's something that I wouldn't give away. 30, how do you make your invisible illness visible? And I don't, unfortunately. In real life, if you pass by me, you would never know that I have a genetic disease. But one way that I do make my illness visible is by my Instagram account and my blogs and my videos. And I just want to change the stigma that you can see who's hurting, because it's not true. And I mean, we need to support everybody despite what they might be going through, and that's what I aim to do. Number 31, what does awareness mean to you? I kind of touched on this with the last question, I guess, but for me, awareness is, I want people to know what Ehlers Danlos syndrome is. Sometimes I say that to doctors and they don't even know what it is. And a big part of living a good life with EDS is having people know what you're going through. So awareness to me is being able to recognize the name of what is Ehlers Danlos syndrome. So I hope you guys all enjoyed this video. If you have any other video ideas for me, feel free to leave them below. But see you guys later.